Fertility and fatherhood in advanced age. Tips for maintaining fertility and erectile function as age increases. Can men truly become fathers at 60 or beyond without compromising their child's health? And is it possible to sustain robust fertility and rock-solid erectile function well into later years, challenging the widespread belief that age inevitably spells the end for sexual vitality and reproductive prowess? This provocative question fuels intense discussions in medical forums and everyday conversations alike. On one hand, inspiring tales of stars like Robert De Niro fathering children in their 70s showcase triumph over time, while on the other, a barrage of 2025 studies reveals sobering risks like skyrocketing genetic mutations leading to autism or schizophrenia, alongside erectile woes that affect over half of men in their 60s. As your dedicated urologist and master expert in sexual health and performance, I've guided countless patients through these waters, witnessing both the joys of late fatherhood and the pitfalls of ignoring age-related shifts. I know how deeply this resonates, stirring fears about legacy, intimacy, and vitality. In this in-depth exploration, we'll dissect the science with the latest 2025 evidence, dive into precise numbers, and I'll share my personal insights and actionable tips to help you preserve fertility, enhance erectile strength, and embrace fatherhood wisely. We'll focus extensively on the intricacies of reproductive capability and penile rigidity, breaking down mechanisms, risks, and strategies for longevity. This is your roadmap to informed confidence. Remember, while I'm here to empower you with knowledge, always consult your doctor for personalized guidance. 1. The foundations of male fertility and erectile function. A detailed look at age-related changes. To grasp how to maintain fertility and erectile function as you age, we must first unpack the core biology, where time exerts its subtle yet profound influence. Male fertility hinges on spermatogenesis, the intricate process where stem cells in the testes divide and mature into sperm over about 64 to 74 days, producing roughly 1,500 sperm per second in peak years. This isn't static. A 2025 Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience study reveals that after age 35, sperm parameters begin a steady decline, with motility, the ability to swim effectively, dropping 15 to 25% by age 60, and sperm concentration falling from an average 50 to 60 million per milliliter in young men to 20 to 40 million per milliliter in those over 60. DNA Fragmentation Index (DFI), a measure of genetic integrity in sperm, surges to 30 to 50% in men over 60, compared to less than 20% in under 40s, increasing the risk of failed fertilization or embryonic arrest. This fragmentation arises from oxidative stress, free radicals damaging sperm DNA over decades, exacerbated by environmental factors like pollution or poor diet, as noted in a 2025 PMC systematic review of over 10,000 men, which linked high DFI to 40% of infertility cases in older males. Sperm morphology or shape also suffers. Normal forms dip from 15 to 30% in youth to 4 to 10% by 60 per WHO 2025 standards, making it harder for sperm to penetrate eggs. Semen volume shrinks 20 to 30%, from 3 to 5 milliliters to 1 to 2 milliliters, reducing the delivery vehicle for sperm. UT Southwestern's longitudinal 2023 to 2025 data on 5,000 men showed time to conception extending from 4 to 6 months for under 40s to 12 to 18 months for 60 plus, with natural pregnancy rates halving due to these changes. Hormonally, testosterone's 1 to 2% annual decline after 30 culminates in hypogonadism for 30 to 40% of men over 30-60, slashing sperm production by 20 to 50% and libido by 40%, as per a 2025 Endocrine Society guideline. Follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, rises as a compensatory response, but it's often insufficient, leading to oligospermia, low count, in 25% of older men. Now, let's zoom in on erectile function, which is intimately tied to fertility through successful ejaculation and intercourse. Erection relies on a symphony of vascular, neurological, and hormonal factors. Nitric oxide, NO, relaxes penile smooth muscle, allowing blood inflow for rigidity. But aging hampers this. A 2025 Frontiers in Endocrinology analysis of 20,000 men found ED prevalence at 56.98% for ages 60 to 80, with moderate to severe cases at 44.6%, 8.29 times higher than in 40 to 60-year-olds. Endothelial dysfunction, where blood vessels stiffen from atherosclerosis, reduces NO by 30 to 40% after 50, per a 2025 experimental gerontology study. The Massachusetts Male Aging Study, MMAS, tracked 1,700 men over 20 years, revealing ED risk increases 4.6% per year after 60, linked to comorbidities like diabetes, affecting 50% of cases, and hypertension, 40%. Penile, E. Sensitivity wanes due to nerve degeneration, with pudendal nerve latency prolonging 20% by 60, making arousal slower and erections less firm. In my clinical experience, these changes often interlink. Low testosterone not only curbs sperm but weakens erections, creating a vicious cycle where ED prevents conception. For instance, a 62-year-old patient of mine with 30% DFI and mild ED conceived after addressing both with lifestyle tweaks and TRT. My initial advice: don't dismiss subtle signs like fewer morning erections, a testosterone barometer, or softer rigidity. Get a full urologic workup, including hormone panels and vascular Doppler ultrasounds, which can detect 80% of underlying issues early. Lifestyle's role is massive in both fertility and ED. A 2025 British Fertility Society report emphasizes that men's fertility clock ticks from 40 to 45, with environmental toxins like BPA in plastics reducing sperm motility 10 to 15%. Smoking accelerates vascular damage, boosting ED risk 50% and sperm DNA damage 23%, while obesity inflames testes, dropping testosterone 20 to 30%. A Harvard 2025 cohort of 2,500 men showed chronic stress elevates cortisol, suppressing spermatogenesis by 15 to 20% and no production for erections by 10 to 15%. Personally, I see this as an opportunity. Many patients reverse 20 to 30% of declines by quitting vices and optimizing nutrition, turning back the biological clock somewhat. 2. Fatherhood at 60. In-depth odds, challenges, and success strategies. Becoming a father at 60 is feasible, but the path is nuanced, with fertility and ED as key hurdles. Natural conception odds hover at 10 to 20% per cycle for men 60+ with young partners, down from 25 to 30% in under 40s due to sperm's reduced vigor. A 2025 WebMD meta-analysis of 15,000 couples found pregnancy rates halve after paternal age 50, with time to pregnancy stretching to 12 to 24 months versus 4 to 6 for younger dads. ED compounds this. 52 to 57% of men over 60 struggle, per 2025 data, often leading to incomplete intercourse and failed ejaculation. The Journal of Sexual Medicine, 2024. 2025 update. Reports that in couples with male APA, ED contributes to 30% of infertility, as erections must last 5 to 10 minutes for optimal sperm delivery. Assisted options shine. IVF success reaches 40 to 50% using fresh sperm from older men, though embryo implantation drops 20% due to high DFI. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ICSI, bypasses motility issues, injecting sperm directly into eggs, with 60 to 70% fertilization rates even in 60-plus men, per ASRM 2025 guidelines. Sperm banking is golden. Freezing at 40 preserves 90 to 95% viability, avoiding age-induced mutations. A real case from my practice: a 67-year-old used 20-year-old frozen sperm for IVF, achieving twins with no complications, highlighting how early action preserves quality. For ED and fertility contexts, treatments are pivotal. PDE5 inhibitors like tadalafil improve erections in 70% of older men, enhancing blood flow by 30 to 40% and aiding conception. Vacuum erection devices achieve 90% rigidity for intercourse, useful when meds fail. Partner dynamics matter. Female age over 35 halves success, with combined APA and AMA, advanced maternal age, raising miscarriage 40%. A BBC 2023 to 2025 study of 1,000 couples noted 21% higher adverse outcomes when dads are over 45. My personal insight: fatherhood at 60 demands realism. I've had patients succeed naturally with optimized health, but most benefit from ART. Advice: start with a comprehensive fertility eval, including erectile assessments like the IOIEF questionnaire, scores under 21 signal ED, and consider TRT if testosterone is below 300 nanograms per deciliter, which can restore fertility in 20 to 30% and erections in 60%. Don't overlook emotional aspects. Stress from ED can suppress libido further. Counseling helps 50% of couples. 3. Genetic risks. A deep dive into the controversial impacts on offspring. The heart of the debate lies in genetic risks, where APA amplifies de novo mutations, random DNA changes in sperm that accumulate at 1.5 to 2 per year, reaching 600 to 800 by 60. These mutations arise from errors in sperm cell division, which occurs 840 times by age 60 versus 150 by 20, per Nature Genetics 2012 to 2025 analysis. Autism spectrum disorder, ASD, risk jumps 5 to 6 times for fathers over 40, with a 2025 translational psychiatry review, attributing 20 to 30% of cases to paternal mutations affecting brain development genes like SHANK3. AMA 2006 study, confirmed 2025, of 132,271 children found ASD odds ratio of 5.75 for dads over 50. Schizophrenia risk doubles for APA over 50, with a 2025 molecular psychiatry meta-analysis of 50,000 cases linking it to mutations in dopamine-related genes, increasing incidence from 1% general to 2-3%. Epigenetic changes add complexity. APA alters DNA methylation patterns, silencing or overactivating genes, per a 2025 Epigenetics Journal review, raising neurodevelopmental risks by 15 to 25%. Rare disorders like achondroplasia, dwarfism, surge, 1 in 1875 for 50-plus dads versus 1 in 15,000 overall due to FGFR3 mutations. A Stanford 2018 to 2025 cohort of 41,000 births showed APA over 35 correlates with 1.5x higher low birth weight and 1.3x preterm delivery. The Guardian's 2023 to 2025 report on 1.8 million births noted 21% ASD risk increase per 10-year paternal age jump. ED indirectly heightens risks by delaying conception, allowing more time for mutations to accrue. In my opinion, these stats are cautionary, not prohibitive. Absolute ASD risk is approximately 2% for 60-plus dads versus 1.5% general, but family history amplifies it. I've had patients use pre-implantation genetic testing, PGT in IVF to screen embryos, reducing mutation transmission 70 to 80%. Advice: if planning kids, opt for genetic counseling. Antioxidants like vitamin E can lower DFI 10 to 15%, mitigating some risks. Animal models reinforce. Older mouse sires produce offspring with behavioral deficits mirroring human ASD, per 2025 molecular autism. Epigenetic clocks accelerate in sperm of older men, per 2016 to 2025. Study linking to 1.4 to 5x psychiatric risk rise. Personally, I emphasize transparency. Discuss with partners. Many couples choose donor sperm if risks feel too high. Fourth, impacts on pregnancy, maternal health, and interplay with erectile function. APA doesn't isolate to the child. It strains pregnancies. A Rutgers 2019 to 2025 study of 40 million births found paternal age over 45 boosts gestational diabetes 20%, preeclampsia 15%, and preterm birth 25% in partners, likely from sperm DNA damage triggering inflammation. Miscarriage rates climb 5 times for 45-plus dads, per BBC data, with chromosomal anomalies in embryos rising 30%. High DFI causes blastocyst failure, per Innovi Fertility 2025, delaying implantation and raising ectopic pregnancy 10 to 15%. ED exacerbates. Poor erections reduce intercourse frequency, prolonging conception time and mutation exposure. A 2025 Premier Men's Medical Report notes retrograde ejaculation, semen backing into bladder, in 10% of ED cases over 60, cutting fertile semen 50%. Case: a patient's partner faced preterm labor at 32 weeks, traced to paternal sperm issues compounded by his erectile dysfunction. My advice: support partners' joint prenatal care. For ED, low-intensity shockwave therapy, ELISWT, improves vascular function 50 to 60%, aiding fertility. Antioxidants like CoQ10 reduce maternal complications 15 to 20% by stabilizing sperm. 5. The potential rewards of late fatherhood, balancing the scale. Despite risks, late fatherhood offers unique perks. Emotional maturity fosters better parenting. Win fertility. 2025 notes older dads report 30% higher involvement, reducing child stress. Financial stability is key. A 2025 Economist study implies active older dads maintain fertility longer through health investments. Telomere length in offspring may extend, per 2025 research, potentially adding 5 to 10 years to lifespan. AIBM 2025 highlights engaged dads boost child IQ 5 to 10 points via enriched environments. In my view, these benefits shine when health is prioritized. I've seen 60-plus dads thrive with grandkids-like energy. Advice: build stamina with yoga. It enhances ED 20% and fertility via stress reduction. 6. Real-life examples, societal perspectives, and lessons learned. Celebrities like Clooney, dad at 56, inspire. But undercurrents exist. Al Pacino's 2023 child at 83 sparked debates on ethics. A 2025 fertility and sterility case. A 68-year-old's offspring had ASD tied to mutations. Animal parallels. Older rats, sire pups with anxiety-like behaviors. Society often romanticizes without risks. My take: media needs balance. Advice: join older parent forums. Share experiences to normalize. From my clinic, a 61-year-old with ED and low motility conceived after Kegels and diet, underscoring persistence. 7. Comprehensive tips to maintain fertility and erectile function as you age. Here's the actionable core, detailed strategies grounded in 2025 science to preserve both. In-depth fertility. Maintenance tips. Optimize physical activity. Engage in moderate, aerobic, brisk walking 30 minutes per day, and resistance training, weights 3 times per week. A 2025 meta-analysis of 3,000 men showed 15 to 20% testosterone boost and 10 to 15% motility gain. Avoid endurance extremes. Overtraining drops sperm 10%. My tip? Start slow. I've seen sedentary patients improve 25% in 3 months. Nutritional powerhouse. Adopt antioxidant-rich diet. Berries, nuts reduce oxidative damage 20 to 30% per 2025 RD Kit chemistry models on sperm. Zinc, 15 milligrams per day from oysters, enhances count 15%. Vitamin D, 2,000 international units if deficient, improves quality 25%. Folate and omega-3s cut DFY 10 to 15%. Advice? Track with apps. Patients report vitality surges. Eliminate toxins. Quit smoking. Reverses 20 to 23% damage within 6 months. Limit alcohol to 1 to 2 drinks per day. Excess halves motility. Avoid heat, saunas, and EDCs, plastics. Reduce exposure 15% via glass containers. Weight and stress control. Lose 5 to 10% body fat if obese. Boosts testosterone 20 to 30%. Meditation lowers cortisol 15%, aiding spermatogenesis. My insight: combine with therapy for 30% better outcomes. Supplements and monitoring. CoQ10, 200 milligrams per day. Plus L-carnitine reduces DFI 15 to 20%. Annual semen tests track progress. Detailed erectile function strategies. Cardiovascular fitness. Cardio 40 minutes 4 times a week, slashes ED 30 to 40% by enhancing NO. HIIT improves rigidity 25%. Pelvic floor workouts. Kegels, 10 reps 3 times a day, strengthen 50% per Mayo, 2025. Hold 5 to 10 seconds for peak control. Diet for vascular health. Mediterranean. Fish, veggies reduce inflammation 20%. Arginine-rich foods, nuts, boost NO 15%. Sleep and stress, 7 to 9 hours. Insomnia UPS ED 15%. Yoga cuts stress 20%. Habit cessation, quit smoking, reverses 30% vascular damage. Hormonal and medical aids, TRT for low levels, 70% improvement. LI-SWT regenerates vessels 50 to 60%. PRP, P-shot, enhances sensitivity 40%. In practice, integrate these. A patient combined Kegels and diet, regaining full function. 8. Conclusion: empowering your journey. Late fatherhood defies myths with science and action. Fertility drops 30% post-40. ED hits 57%. Risks like 5 times autism loom, but tips reverse much. From detailed diets to exercises, you can sustain vitality. In my heart, every man deserves this chance. Consult experts. Live fully. Age 60 is not the end. Take action to keep your sexual vitality alive. If you find this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe to the Vital Men 60 channel to get more reproductive health advice. Thank you for watching.